Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we are back for another episode of This Uncanny Earth. We are just waiting for Mr. Deadpool to get here, and we're going to throw him in. What's with these? I got to say, what's with the glasses, Clark Kent?
Thanks.
Are you trying to be like us?
No. Maybe. I felt like doing something different tonight. If you'll notice what Deadpool did over there. That didn't work out very well, but he tried. He tried.
We all try our best. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing Singularity, but not in the context of black holes and event horizons, though one day we will probably get to that discussion about black holes and event horizons. No, we are talking technological singularity, very close in proximity in terms, in that have we reached the breaking point or the no-go pass point or the point of no return to where technology has now for overtaken us in the way that it goes. As always, I am your host, Robert Solomon, on a very muggy Thursday night here in Ohio. As you can tell by the hair, it does whatever it wants, and I don't stop it. I just let it do what it wants. As always, we got the curmudgeon that keeps it budging, the villain that keeps it chilling. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody's favorite brother, Spider. There he is.
We need to get the sound effects back in here so we can have like
Yeah.
the cheers and the booze.
Yes. I missed those.
Because you would get the cheers and then I would get the booze because I'm
Yeah.
a bad guy.
No, you get the cheers too because Steven gets the booze because he's the intern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you get
I
the
thought
short
Spider
straw.
got
then.
the booze because he liked it the most.
And of course,
BOOZE.
the sassiest intern this side of the Mississippi, ladies and gentlemen, it's Steven. Or
Hello.
is it Clark Kent? We don't know who it is. He's got glasses now and he's serious. He's here to give you the news or give you the blues, and boy, you better like one or the other. We don't do that here. We speak English.
Oh, ego ga hanasemasu.
Nope. None of that Chinese. None of that Chinese on this show. None of that Chinese on this show. Gentlemen, what has been going on?
I speak English.
Last week we were getting down, and you guys were getting down and funky without me.
Uh-oh. Is that what that smell was?
And I got to say, you guys did an excellent show. I listened to the day after, since the
it was a little short, but
thank you.
Listen, man, weather's a hard conversation to discuss.
Whether or not
you gentlemen did good. So, how's everybody doing? Anybody got anything coming up they want to promote?
well, first off, what's up next for the interns show?
Yeah, intern.
What's the next episode?
This week we're going to be talking about luck, and it's going to be a lot more philosophically based. Philosophicallys, that kind of stuff. And it's going to be, I'm going to try to look into the history of luck and like where its origins came from, and maybe go into some stuff that's considered bad luck versus some stuff that's considered good luck, and just try to get, some people's thoughts in the comments on what they personally believe in luck and karma and all sorts of stuff like that.
I'd love to hear
lucky 13s, lucky 13s, and lucky 7s.
Yeah.
How about you,
That's
Mr.
why so many places like the 13th floor.
13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Back into the singing groove of things? Are we going to get any new music from you at some point? What's going on with that?
I was supposed to have started a new album recording like this summer, and I haven't actually done much with it yet.
So when do we get some new music?
Possibly by the end of the year. I've got some things in the works. I just don't have the space yet to deal with it because they fixed my roof a ways back and made a huge mess out of the attic, and I haven't finished cleaning it yet because it's a huge mess.
Okay.
So, but we do have, if you're local and you are interested in some locally sourced and homegrown rappins and
free
things,
range,
then September 14th, the label is going to be at a place called The Backyard. I think it's in Akron. I think.
Is this
either Akron or
your backyard?
Thing? Is this the Paints and Games thing? Because he's doing that too. He's doing that too.
It might be that. If
guy's
that's the
doing that
14th
too.
of September, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that because I thought about going to that myself and just.
I might show up to that
tournaments.
later in the afternoon, not earlier in the day, but I might show up later in the afternoon as my time permits. We have to see. I have to try to get out to more of these shows to support the label.
Well, listen, I heard that if they're gonna have a Street Fighter tournament, I'd probably go just to throw my hat in the ring. I haven't played the new one much, but I would always give it a shot. So
yeah, check into it. I can even ask I can try to get in touch with the people hosting it because I don't think we're hosting that one. We were invited to it.
You're just representing.
Yeah. We were invited to it, but not hosting. So yeah, we're representing. And so that's going on with that. I don't know if I want to tell people about what's going on Tuesday because I don't know if I want too many people ahead of me in line.
He's gonna go see brothers. What you
but
gonna
if you are
do?
local, if you're local to where I live in Canton, Ohio,
and I'm damn
you
local.
can go just a little bit north of here, like 5 minutes up the road, up the interstate to North Canton, where you can meet Hulk Hogan in one of our local grocery stores. So I'm gonna go do that because that's ridiculously silly.
And I think I'm gonna join him.
Yeah, we should probably go up there and like take pictures in line and like do a short video or something.
Yeah, 100%.
See if Hulk can give us like a catchphrase or something.
What you gonna do when this uncanny earth runs wild over you, brothers?
You should pretend to be idiot paparazzi and mistake him for the Incredible
We're not doing
Hulk.
that. We are not doing anything like that. No, this is
Hulk for the Incredible Hulk.
You can't. Wow, this is why we're firing you.
I'm also not going to ask him about any recent speeches he might have made. So if anybody out there is upset about that, hey, let's, we're not going to get into that.
Listen, I don't care about your political nonsense.
This is separate from all that. This is just
we
him
grew
being,
up to the Hulkster.
Yeah,
we grew up to the Hulkster, man.
So
yeah,
and we're going to buy some of his probably
beer.
not
the best.
I don't want to say any of that like now on the air and like have it be like disinvited, be like a message suddenly in my inbox. Hey, I heard you guys were coming to see me, but you dissed my beer. You're not coming, brother.
What if he tries to beat us up in the parking lot? We'll just call.
You're not invited, brother.
We'll call Steiner on him.
Yeah, and I'll get in touch with Scott and say, "Come on, Scott, holla if you hear me."
Do your math. Okay, so gentlemen, let's begin our conversation before it goes too far off into the turnbuckle. Let's start with Spider. Spider, talk to us about some technological singularity and where you think we sit in the projectile course of technological singularities.
Well, I have an article to give people a little bit of background to. This is what I posted to the two of you a few days ago.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make sure I can make sure it'll still let me pull it up. I don't know. I come up with crappy accents.
His accents are terrible. He has one good one.
They come up on their own, and I don't even know why.
They're usually bad. I'm always like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm sorry."
But the article I pulled up, if anybody wants to read it, it's from Popular Mechanics.
Ooh, classic.
And the title is "A Scientist, just some guy, says humans will reach the singularity within 21 years." Now, the scientist is not just some random guy. He is, Ray Kurzweil, who's been talking about this since the 90s. And it's a theory he had that eventually, by around the point where we're at in the 2020s, humanity and technology would have come together to such a point that you couldn't have one without the other. And in some parts, they would become one unit and indistinguishable from each other. Now, there's a few ways that you can interpret that. You can take that to mean that we'd all have bio implants and that we'd all have the internet buzzing in our brains all the time, which is kind of one of the goals of the Musk technology. What's it called? The Neuralink?
Yeah.
Yes, the Neuralink.
Which you've talked about before on the show, Stephen.
Yes.
We're going to get to that in a minute, too, so you can refresh everybody on it. But he foresees the Neuralink being an implant that you can put initially like almost like a hearing aid thing that'd be connected to your brain on the outside, but eventually subdermal under the skin that'll connect to the internet with Wi-Fi.
That's where we are.
Message people and do things and control your house Alexa stuff telepathically, basically, because you connect to it with your brain. There's been some pretty interesting advancements in that for people who have been 100% like fully paralyzed and not
Playing
being able
video
to use any of
games.
their limbs, and they've been able to play games and control things in their house, like the household AI devices and things like
Right.
that, which is pretty
Right.
interesting. So that's evidence that potentially we could be entering that phase. Now, there's a few different ways to look at it, though. You can look at it from the Mass Effect perspective. In Mass Effect 3, one of the endings you could get was a merging between human and technology, and that it was one integrated being that was basically perfect, a perfect synchronization of the two. But then you can also look at it from the opposite side. You can look at it from the cyberpunk perspective. Well, yeah, we've got all this stuff, but everything's just as crappy and just as kind of not great as it is now. People are still poor, people are still fighting, people are, still struggling with pollution and all that other kind of stuff. So when you talk about the singularity, there's still a lot of angles to it other than just the utopian, oh yeah, we're going to be man and machine and it's going to be a better future for everybody. His views are that it's generally going to be a better future for everyone. But I'm being the cynical person. I see a lot of setbacks and roadblocks and cyberpunk type things along the way if we ever get to that point. But that's
That
just
is
my
one of the
take on it.
major conspiracy theories.
I think we also have to look at the most important thing here is, oh, you hear about the one guy who got the implant, but it's given him such an advantage in video games that he said there's going to have to be a whole other league for people with implants versus those without, which we did discuss in an episode about biomedical engineering that we did about 3 years ago.
Because you
Back in
can
our
think
day.
faster than you can move a
Yeah.
thumb or a finger or anything. The
Yeah.
power of thought
Well,
is
it's just your
faster than any
synapse.
sort of
Your
muscle
synapse
memory.
fires off so quickly.
Mm.
The ability to pull the trigger is nanoseconds instead of seconds. Your react times are quicker, so you have that advantage. The one thing that I think too that we should really understand, and I think this is really good too, that Apple brought this up, because I discussed this when I was talking about sports and things like that, when they do bring biomedical engineering full circle, and the cybernetic prosthetics and things of that nature will in fact give people that edge. So there would have to be a whole nother baseball league, soccer league, hockey leagues, football leagues, all the leagues you could think of, just adapted. So you would have to think about that. But when I think of singularity, I think of more in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, not so much people hitting that technological stride, because that's not really an issue for me. I think if people can have the chance to have a better life via a cybernetic implant, as long as it's not hurting others, I don't see the problem. I think it's a very logical way to go if society wasn't as corrupt as it is, and corporations, and you would have things like the genetic opera Repo Man. If you don't pay, are they going to come and take it out of your brain? Are they going to shut you down? Are they going to shut your limbic systems down, your nervous systems down,
Advertisement in front of
parasympathetic,
your
all
eyes.
this, advertisements? Is that going to happen? So,
And
but more or less, I think that the AI aspect of this is really what the core point of everything is. And what were we going to say, Spider? I heard you about to put something out there.
yeah, a quick thing I wanted to throw in there that was just
go
a
ahead.
thing that I don't think we considered. I don't remember if we talked about it or not, and if we
Mhm.
did, then my apologies for rehashing it. But in talks of using things like that, like implants with athletes and biomedical things, potentially because the brain moves faster than the limbs and the various muscles do, you could potentially cause yourself a lot of harm by saying, "Oh yeah, I want my arms and my legs to move faster so I can get across this finish line faster,"
Yeah.
and you force them to move faster than they're meant to.
Yeah.
You could tear ligaments, you could tear
Yeah.
skin, you could rip your arms out of socket, just by thought alone without intending to, if there's no safety constraints in there.
Yeah, if there's no easy flow elbows,
Mhm.
then you're in trouble. No,
Like
but
Bruce
in
Whistles.
reality, yeah, he's the only one that got one. Him and that other guy. Uh, I think also if we really dig down deep and understand this whole thing regarding limbs and such, you would have to have your, like in a car, you would have your your shocks, you have your suspension. It'd be very similar. You just because you get a cybernetic arm, you know, doesn't mean the bones inside and everything else that's paired with that. You would have to stabilize that at some point, because meanwhile your legs are going so fast it might not fare well for the rest of your body, or your arms are using strength that the rest of your body can't comprehend, your core, so you're tearing and ripping and things of that nature. But for me, I think AI is the most important point. Now, I want to say this: we like to say it's a doom and gloom situation, but AI can't go beyond human parameters. Okay, it can't. It's virtually impossible to move beyond human parameters, only because human beings have created said AI. A lot of people say, well, it can do
It
this
can
and that,
learn faster than us.
but learning faster doesn't equate to evolution in terms of machines' ability to create themselves um, above a human being world, right? So they're getting things in terms of physics, right? Everything they're learning at ways that we have already learned it. It's being learned in a human way. It's not being learned in an alien way. It's not being learned in a upper dimensional being way. It's always going to keep that human being learning aspect attached to it, because it doesn't know any better. It doesn't know how to learn, like, say, an alien out in several solar systems away, because we haven't had that contact. We haven't had that exposure. You can make up hypotheses, but if you don't have that being, or you don't have those type of things there, then it essentially is still only going to learn the way a human will. A very high processed human, mind you, a very high processor focused computer based learning machine, sure. But even computers only learn and react in a human-esque manner. They don't react in a Nord manner, or a Pallades manner, or a gray manner, even though some say the alien technology and all that and the grays. But let's count that out for a second. Human beings create technology that benefit human beings, and that technology is adapted to human beings by human beings. It would be it would be completely different if you had an outside civilization from 10 galaxies away that was high up on the Kardashev scale that created technology. It wouldn't even look like ours. It might be a completely different functioning system. So we always have to, in my personal opinion, keep the parameter of humankind wrapped around any sort of singularity aspect we're going to talk about. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones who created the technology. So by and by, the AI technology can only do the human level technology, if that makes sense to the audience and you two gentlemen.
The thing of it, and I think this is a big chunk of what you're getting at here, is that AI can do what it's taught, and it can learn and it can learn and it can learn, but it cannot innovate from there. If an AI did become a sentient being with a mind of its own in a way that made it actually mirror a human, it would become an entirely different life form. And potentially it could then learn ways of innovation after that. But it can't learn to innovate based on just straight up
Right. Without
information.
without perfect sentience, it doesn't have a chance, because it's always going to go back to the default factor of human beings. It's going to make decisions based on human beings. So we all point to the Terminator paradox, right? If we have more advanced tech, that tech will inadvertently or inevitably turn on us and kill us, to wipe us out, because it sees us as basically cockroaches,
A
right?
threat.
But it's only basing itself off of what it sees off of human beings. That doesn't necessarily mean it's gained sentience. What it means is that it's just following a series of programs and patterns to try to weed humanity out. Now, once AI would take a form of sentience, and it could create itself and its own body and travel the starways and travel to different galaxies and things of that nature, then yes, it could learn and then send the information back to wherever it is, or send the information, whatever, or keep it, then it could learn, because now it's a whole new different dimension, or it's a whole new different world, which plays by different rules of physics, plays by different rules of gravity, plays by different rules of atoms. It may not have the same chemical makeup to make this as we do here. And that's the one thing I think we need to understand when we're talking about singularity. We are talking about singularity as a point of no return. Okay. And a lot of times with technology, it is a point of no return, both good and bad. Okay. For instance, social media, right? That is a point of no return. Unless the population was wiped, you can't go back to the days when there was no social media. And I don't mean just like Spider or myself or you just deleting all of our social media accounts. No, I'm talking global. I'm talking worldwide. People everywhere just delete them all. It's not going to happen. That's a point of no return. The television was a point of no return for technology, right? Movies, music, being able to play
color
music on
television.
TV. So we have these times where there's these innovations that come out that are both bad and good, where it's a singularity moment, right? It's almost like we're watching history happen before our eyes, more so, I think, me and Spider, more so than you. We have seen technology advance so much in the past, 30, 40 years that we've been on this planet. So if you think about that, right, in such a short span of time, that was one of the reasons why the article was stated as saying, we're going to hit singularity in some 20 odd years. 21, I think the years were.
They target was like between 29 and like 2040, like between 2029 and 2040.
Which makes sense. I mean, we're going to get more technologically advanced. However, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom and the end of the times, but I think our society at some point when that is reached is going to collapse. And I mean, as a whole, worldwide, something is going to happen, because if you've studied history, something always happens. There's always a pivotal shift. Now, whether our singularity event allows us to evade that pivotal shift, as in some folk tales where we read about the ant people coming up and getting the Native Americans or the natives that were here and taking them underground so they could survive while the earth was going through its next cycle. Now, if that's the way it works, then singularity can direct us to that point, whether that point be going out in spaceships and living in space for 30, 40 years, whether that be, having to traverse the starways in our ships, hell, whether that be going back underground. Is singularity going to play that role? Or is it going to be one of those where singularity is just creating a bunch of weapons that do mass destruction? That's what we need to be discussing between that and AI, because I think they like to paint a picture of AI being able to launch these missiles, right? We've all seen the movies where it gets a hold of...
Only if you give it permission.
That's the thing. I still think at that point, AI is still bound by human constructs. It's not able to think outside of that because, like you said, it's walled in, right?
It's a computer program. It's based on logic,
parameters,
rules, and things that if this, then this. If that, then this.
And it can't break that.
It's logic that exists here with us. It's human-based logic. It's human-based computing. So, because it's not thinking for itself, it's not, it can't. But like I said, if we reach that level where it can, which would take an insane amount of computing for it to be able to do that, and even that, I still don't think that's possible. You'd almost have to have an outside interference in order for that to happen.
That's what the government wants you to think.
I don't think it's possible. I just don't think, unless the government, and we have had conversations about the Majestic. The Majestic
I brought
12.
The conspiracy theories tonight.
We have the idea of General Eisenhower meeting with gray aliens to get advanced technology, whether that's true or not. And I don't have any proof. Nobody sitting here has any proof, or else we would be a little bit more well off than we are now. We might be able to have a bottle or two, handy. So once we understand that, move forward, take away the alien concept. If AI is created by humans, I don't think it can reach that level where it becomes sentient. I think that's just a nice science fiction type story. But anyway, Steven, go ahead. Hit us with some conspiracy theories.
All right, so I heard a few different things. I heard there was this thing called Moore's Law, which essentially was this dude that believed that, technology will double and double and double and so forth. And his prediction was the year 2030 would be the year that we reach the singularity. And I, to lean into Spider's idea about the cyberpunk type society, I heard another conspiracy theory that the government is trying to do a massive cover up because we've already hit the technological singularity and they don't want anyone to know about it. So they're doing this massive cover up. And think about it. My personal opinion on this conspiracy theory is I've been thinking for a few years now that they're trying to hide something, because why are they revealing the aliens now ever since they've been hiding them since the 50s? What are they trying to distract us from? What are they trying to hide? And I combined these two together and I thought, what if we've already hit the technological singularity and this conspiracy theory is accurate and they're trying to hide it from us in a government conspiracy? And here's my evidence, my supposed evidence, my theoretical, is all this weirdness with the Google AI telling people to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge and eat glue in their pizza and all that. Google straight up came out and said they don't know how to fix it. And that was part of the theory of the technological evolution, is the technology will escape and we won't be able to fix it. And the other conspiracy theory was that was, kind of part of this, was that once we hit the technological evolution, some people will, combine their body with implants, such as the Neuralink, as we were talking about earlier, and they'll use that for the rich people will get the implants and they'll become part of this higher society of humans, and the poor people that can't afford these implants will become inferior humans that have no choice but to serve as slaves.
Okay, I want to stop you there real quick for
Okay.
anybody continues.
I got something
So-
too after you're done there.
So you talked about Google, right? You talked about how they can't fix it, how it
Yeah.
put glue on pizza, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is easily fixed. So if you think about it, okay, if you take an AI, if you ever watched AI generated videos,
Yeah, it's because
AI
of their
generated things,
resource, right? From Reddit.
it's not so much that.
Okay.
It's the fact that they aren't. It's not really AI. Once again, it's just drawing from a bank. It's
Yeah,
drawing
like
from
a
the internet.
database, right?
Yeah, it's not drawing from thin air.
Yeah, I
It's
heard it
drawing
was
from a
all from
data
Reddit
bank.
posts with people making jokes and AI took it
Yeah.
seriously.
Well, it's AI. Well, AI can only operate on the parameters that are given to
Yeah.
it
AI
by
doesn't
its programmers.
understand sarcasm.
No, it doesn't understand sarcasm. I remember seeing it was a beer commercial and there was hot dogs and people were trying to drink the beer, but they'd be like this and they
I
would
love
like
the
drink
AI
it out of their
commercials.
face, stuff like that, because
Yep.
AI doesn't understand human society in terms of the different little things that we do.
How many fingers we have.
It's things like that. Yeah. It's the nuances that we have that, so and so's coming over today. Don't bring this up.
Yeah.
It's little stuff like that that AI doesn't really understand. Once again, I don't really want to say it's artificial intelligence when it's just drawing from a bank. It's drawing from a memory bank. Yeah, it takes seconds to compute it, but at the same time, that's already there. It's not like it's recreating these images because it knows. It just says, "Oh, there's an image. I'm going to put it with this image." So.
Yeah.
To expand on that, because that's basically it's pretty close to where I was going with it. The way that they've said that they train the AI, and first off, I'm going to say that Google trains its AI across the entirety of the internet. They basically send it out, analyze posts, look at this, look at that. That's how they're trying to train it to think by modeling human behavior.
Yep.
Google recently, and this is only partially relevant, but you'll get why I mentioned it in a minute. Google just lost an antitrust suit with the Department of Justice of the United States over monopolizing search engines. because they are in everything. They're in their phones. They're like they own the Android operating system, all
They're in
kinds of
their
other
phones,
things.
man.
90% apparently
right, though.
of online searches are done through a Google platform of some kind. Now, you would think, oh, well, their defense, might think that sounds like spot on. Their defense was, oh, well, we're just the best search engine. That's why everybody uses us. But remember what I've said about Google. Google, when you search through it, often does not get you the most correct result. It gets you the most popular result. And what if the most popular result is something stupid?
Like gluing cheese to your pizza.
And that's the thing we don't think of. A lot of people, and I don't want to say that I don't want anybody to be upset at me about it, but there are a lot of stupid people on
That's
the
not
internet.
really something to be upset about because the internet was made for stupid people.
And
They
if you're
had to
sending
tell
your
people
AI,
to stop drinking Tide Pods.
if you're sending your AI out across the internet to learn human behavior and thought patterns and how they interact, you're going to get a whole bunch of stupid. First off, that you have to cut through
chicken
before you get to the stuff that the AI is actually going to need to think for itself. And that's the part of the problem. Like the AI is going out and it's learning so much garbage and crap and trash that's why it comes up with these ridiculous responses sometimes, because it thinks that's how humans are. Oh yeah, humans eat dishwashing detergent. Of course, that's a natural thing. So it's going to recommend you put that in your recipes, dishwashing detergent.
And it's going to like take, because that's the thing is like it can't differentiate between what's real and what's fantasy. So it might be like eat these roofing tiles. So now you got a video of a guy eating roofing tiles and drinking a cold
Dwayne Johnson eating rocks. Dwayne the Rock Johnson eating rocks.
Yeah. And that's the thing we have to really understand is that AI is still human based. It will always be human based. I don't think it reaches a point of sentience unless we find a material like dark matter. I don't think we have the material to do that. I don't think we have the processing or programming power to give that ability and create life. You can't do it. You could say, "Oh yeah, I put my brain in a robot body," but did you put your brain in a tiger body? Did you put your brain in a gorilla body? That's what I'm saying. But it's science fiction, man. It's not real. Yeah. It's fake.
I know.
Dark matter is very real, but nobody knows what it is. Nobody can seem to bottle it. Nobody can seem to be able to lock it down. I think once dark matter is locked down, that changes the game for a lot of things because we don't know how dark matter operates in terms of other dimensions. Because it's radioactive or nuclear bombs. Some say those open little pocket dimensions, little small ones, because of the reaction. So
like they're so powerful.
Yes, that's where I think we might hit singularity once we can harness dark energy. That's where I stand. I don't think we'll hit it. Well, I mean, in terms of like AI becoming sentient,
less of an AI-driven singularity and more a synthesis and technology, like more base technology rather than like computing ability on its own rather than AI itself.
More ways to kill each other, more ways to charge ourselves for things, subscription-based stuff. Because humanity is very shallow. It's because our shallowness is because of our lifespans. Our lifespans are very finite. So we operate on a level of finite. We don't operate on a level of infinite. So we are like always trying to prolong life. Like imagine if we were immortal, you wouldn't really need modern medicines for anything. You wouldn't need them. You would work on things like if you lose an arm, does it regrow or how do you work that? That would be a big part of thing. But the medical field in and of itself would disappear. You would free up research for other things because there's only so much research being done on dark matter. It's not like little Billy's going out researching dark matter. This takes physics and things that you have to understand in order to do that.
The medical field would be a bigger jump into the singularity, I think, initially than other things, if things like that were a bit more accurate. Like if we did expand our lifespan to a point where we could be functionally immortal, that doesn't stop you from losing an arm or losing a leg or losing whatever. So instead, the entire medical field would turn to how do we replace these things rather than how do we repair these things to keep you going, because you don't need them to stay alive, but you need them to get up and walk around or to reach out
Yeah.
and do
The
things or to
crazy
whatever.
doctor that tried to do a head transplant.
So you'd get a lot more robotic cybernetic attachments and things. I think more of the medical industry would be geared towards that, or potentially into cloning new limbs or things like that. But I think you'd get a cross between a few of those things. You get the ability to choose between this and that as far as the
Yeah.
technology is available, and that would be a less, that's if you took AI out of the equation and just did it purely on functionality, then that would be another view. And again, that could lead to the cyberpunk future, or it could lead to a more idealized version of that.
I think too, when we really sit down and understand it, the ability to improve cognitive functions, the ability to improve health in terms of heart, liver, lungs, shielding those, being able to protect our skin, being able to protect the things that make us old, the ability to reverse cellular death, I think would really push that singularity level to a point of man and machine instead of man versus machine, to be man and machine, both
Make
of
us
them,
more like Deadpool.
which I really don't think is a bad idea in some cases, obviously. Now, of course, some warlord gets a hold of this technology and he is able to be a tyrant. You got Mecha Hitler type of situations. Then, that's the downside of that situation.
Sounds like Gungrave.
Now,
A little bit, yeah, somewhat.
the other side to that, though, could be that once you get to that point, then you've secured a way for everyone to be sufficient enough that one person can't just bulldoze over everybody.
Yeah.
That if somebody gets up and like, oh, that person's starting a fight, they're going to try to murder somebody. You have 3 other people, all with implants and all with whatever they've done, put a stop to it, and you're done. And I'm not going to say that that could lead to like a world peace kind of situation,
A
but you
world
might
without
not
cops,
have,
maybe
you
anarchy.
might not
No.
have the sort of like country lines and divisions based on what they are now. You might have divisions based on the quality of your different body changes. You might have divisions based on philosophical things, but as far as like having wars and things fought over borders and resources, the entire thing would be, the landscape would be completely different.
Yeah, it would be much different because and wars, at that point aren't really fought with troops. You're fighting wars with machines at that point. You're fighting wars with drones like we are now. I mean, we're launching predator drones that can take out city blocks like it's nothing. We have nuclear armaments, but I think a lot of the time, and like you said before, I think what happens is because of mutually assured destruction, people don't want to fight. They're like, "Oh no, we can't just." I think that the prejudices against folks who don't want the implants would be kind of significant, because then they're just looked at as what would probably they would deem themselves as purists. We've never had one technological implant, so we're pure. And I think there'd be some problem there because religion's gonna really throw a wrench into that for some people. They're gonna say, this says this says this. I can't do that to my body. How dare you do it to yours? And then you're going to have regulations running through court systems. You're going to have regulations regarding the sale of prosthetics. Who makes these prosthetics? Who makes these implants? What is their source? What is their nature? And if you've played, like Deus Ex, Deus
Yeah, I
Ex
was
is a
just
good
about to.
example of that.
I was waiting for a break.
Yeah,
So the
Deus Ex.
augments. The
Yes.
augments,
Yep.
it's interesting because when you play the first game, you don't get as much of that. You get the initial sentiment that there might be
Mhm.
some. The second game, and these are the modern two. This isn't the older ones from the late 90s,
Okay.
but I mean the modern ones. The second game goes on the thing where everybody's like, oh yeah, we don't have implants versus the people that do, who are the augmented. But the thing about it is, a lot of the people who have augments, it doesn't mean that they're better. Some of their augments are crappy. Some of them could only afford like this base whatever that helps them lift something. It's got no fine motor control. It doesn't give them much of an advantage at all. It's just a replacement for a limb, but they're labeled as, you think you're better than us because now you're augmented. And you've got that, and you also have a point where people could say, oh, well, we still have to have conflict because that's what our society is. We don't like those people and they don't like us, but we want to clean it up a bit. We want to use the computers instead. And that's when you get into things like there was an episode of the original Star Trek series where the crew shows up on this planet and they get hit by the scanning beam. And the people down below say, oh, hey, you know what? You've all been listed as casualties. Your ship was destroyed. You need to come down and report to the death machines. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, come down. We'll talk about it. Come down. Of course, they're captured because now that you're in their possession, whatever. But the way that these two people have been fighting for a few hundred years is rather than actually fight with real weapons and cause mass destruction to their planet because they saw the direction they saw, we're going to fight using computer numbers. And so one side will launch a strike, which is a virtual strike of a computer saying this missile targets this city. However many people it lists as casualties, they have to report to death machines and basically be killed in a war that's not actually being fought. And vice versa. Both sides kept doing that to each other as they would bring more people through their population and things. Rather than devastate the planet, they were just devastating each other for no particular good reason anymore. And you could get to that point because people aren't particularly bright. They have their ideals, they have their religions, they have their whatever. And they get to the point where just like, oh, yeah, we still want to fight you because we don't like you, but we don't want to make a mess. So we're going to use the Singularity to do so.
I think once we've hit Singularity and we're talking about things like the implants and stuff, this is going to push the pharmaceutical companies into the stratosphere. Because who's to say that these cybernetic implants or these implants are going to actually take? Who's to say they're going to take properly and that you don't need medication? Well, now you've got medication thrown into the mix, and anybody that's ever had side effects off of medication, now you're creating a whole different animal. Who's to say these things won't get hacked? Who's to say that they don't have a wireless function that nobody's talking about? Because you're always going to want to protect civilians. So at some point there's going to be a kill switch. There's going to have to be a kill switch for people that get these implants that make them stronger or powerful. And that might be something that you have to sign for before you actually can get the implant. Something that I think offers more of a advantage, not like an everyday thing that, like, Spider was saying, yeah, you got an arm that lifts just heavy things for your job. That's it. You don't do anything stronger than, a guy that has two arms and lifts, 200 pounds. You just have a second arm that makes you the ability to lift 200 pounds. So you and him are the same. I'm talking about the people who can run faster, who are stronger, who are competing in competitions where they are stronger, lifting 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pounds. They would probably have to have a kill switch engaged on them that if they were caught acting up, that switch is flipped and they die. Now, somebody gets a hold of that, or the nation calls to you for war, the draft's going to look a lot different. You're drafting implants now. And what if they don't want to go? Well, we'll just turn your implant off. And that is pretty much instantly the end of you. And I think that's something we need to consider. There's a lot of different avenues to consider when reaching technological singularity, because you can't go back to it. You can't go back from it. People are going to get these implants. They're not going to want to go back to the days when they didn't have the implants. They got a leg that works. They can walk around with it. I'm sure there's folks with prosthetics that they don't want to not have that prosthetic. It allows them the ability to walk. So technological singularity, once we hit that point that we can't come back from, that you can't go back to the old days, right? Is it going to be for the good or for the worse?
Not without a collapse, which, that could be what has happened throughout history. We've seen various evidence of things that there's been cycles of technology that we're not aware of in the past.
We've talked about petrification devices. The Greek statues that look so good, they look alive. They look like at one point they were living people, and they're petrified. Balor was an entity that had a beam that shot out that could burn forests down.
We talked about the Ark of the Covenant not too long ago that could have been some kind of piece of technology.
Yeah.
And
Destroyed the walls of Jericho.
Atlantis. We still don't understand how that worked.
The crystals of Atlantis supposedly had so much power involved in them that it ended up exploding on itself.
The pyramids.
It was a case of too much power. And I think that's what happens. If I had to take a guess at what happens in civilizations, I think they do reach that singularity. And I think what we have to understand is everybody wants to frame technology in the ancient world as relates to the technology today. And I don't think you can do that. I think once a civilization collapses, it's the way it uses technology might not be the same way we use technology. Like Atlantis having crystals. Maybe they reached their technological singularity and it collapsed on them because there was nothing in place to prevent the misuse or the, somebody might have got greedy and said, I want to use more power, more. And then the civilization collapses from destruction. I think a good majority of the time when you have these ancient places that, yes, I think you're 100% dealing with a fallout from technological singularity. Once again, technology doesn't have to be computers as we see them today. We like to frame that because it's the closest thing our brains can comprehend, right? But they were able to move giant blocks. They were able to cut stone in ways that you can't even put a credit card into.
So accurate.
So accurate. But we can't do that today. Very, very fascinating to me. Machu Picchu, things like that. Göbekli Tepe.
When we were young, advanced technology, was the CD player,
a floppy disk,
the laser disc, the DVD player, then the Blu-ray player, like then being able to make your own CDs from MP3s. And that's the future.
Tell them the story, Spider. Tell them the story.
Which story?
About how you used to make beats on your old.
I used to make beats on my PlayStation 1.
Yeah,
on
the
MTV
PlayStation
Music
1
generator.
Yeah,
both of you.
And that's like now.
And then beats were fire.
Anybody can do these things. Anybody can just plug on whatever. You've got subscription services. You've got all these different things. You've got almost every new vehicle being produced right now. Almost every single one has a big old screen in it. It's got Wi-Fi and phone connectivity and all this other stuff.
DVD
it's standard now. It's not even extra options. It's becoming standard. And before, like when we were kids, we're like, it was barely digital. You were lucky if you had the digital clock.
My grandma had an Oldsmobile that had the old school clocks.
Yeah.
Like you had to turn it to and then push it. Yeah, my grandma
the old
had
TVs that were like a big giant brick on the floor, like a boulder, and you had to go up, flip
with the
thing
rabbit
and
ears.
search through things.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it used to be free.
We see these leaps of technology, and we think, "Oh, this is the height of technology. It can't get any better." And then something else comes out, and then something else comes out.
I mean,
but
if we think
something
about
could be so beyond even that.
This is a computer in your pocket. This is essentially a computer.
A supercomputer, even.
Yeah, you can play games. You can do math. You can check bank accounts. You can get
anything you can imagine.
Security number. We're gonna put that out there later after the show on the internet for everybody to use.
Yeah, the social security numbers.
Social security numbers.
I wanted to mention that a minute ago when you were talking about hacking.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing we didn't even get to yet.
We could do a whole episode on that.
Ability to hack. The ability to bypass, the ability to get through things, firmwares, firewalls, all that jazz, man. Yeah.
Which gets back to that Deus Ex game. The first game, towards the end, had people who had been augmented, and the augments could all be attacked by a rogue signal, and they went berserk. People just started murdering people for no reason, and they didn't know why.
Intense when you actually played it.
Which led to the second game. Everybody was afraid, and we're like, no, we got to be segregated. You got to keep the augments away because they could flip out again at any point.
Yeah.
And that was the long-term goal anyway. The people behind all that was always like, oh, yes. But I mean, still, it's a real thing that could happen. that you have more and more things connected to the internet. The more
Yep.
avenues into the internet that people have, the
Yep.
more ways they can access things that you have, whether they're built into you or whether they're in your house. They could take over your whole house security system and lock you inside your house.
Yeah. 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 They could shut your car off
They
as
can
you're
shut your
driving.
brain off or your oxygen.
Yeah. I mean, this is all things that can happen, and we can't go because nobody's gonna want to go back. They're gonna be like, "Well, I got my heart fixed. Well, here you can give me my old heart that was pretty much dying on me." You know, they don't want to go back to that. Do you think we've reached technological singularity by this point? It doesn't matter who wants to answer.
It
I'll let Steven
depends.
have first.
It depends on if you think the government is hiding stuff from us or not. Personally, I believe in the conspiracy theory that we have reached technological singularity and the government is just hiding it from us because they're scared and they don't want us to realize it.
Okay. Spider?
The thing about the singularity is because it's seen as a point of accelerating forward basically infinitely with no return until the whole thing collapses. If it does, it might not.
Yeah.
We could very well have hit that 20, 30 years ago with the jump that we had into personal computing, into cell phone technology, into all of these things, into the internet, basically. Because once you've hit that, there's a level of connection that's never been had before that we
Yep.
know of.
Bluetooth is magic.
And
Yep.
once we've gotten to that point, I think it's just an acceleration further from there. There's really no slowing down. It's just going to continue to go faster and faster and faster. So we could say that we're in the midst of it right now, and it's not some futuristic utopian thing. It's just the mass influx of continuing technological advancement until either something breaks or we get to a point where everything's perfected.
So I think it's in waves. I don't think we have hit technological singularity overall, but I think in certain aspects we have. Social media being one of those. You
Like we're
know,
nearing the end of our wave into the next wave, maybe?
yes. Yes.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think we've hit it in some regards. Um, but like you said, it's like, I remember, having a corded phone. My grandmother had a rotary phone. You had to turn the freaking thing to get the things.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
My
I remember
grandmother had
cordless
one for a
phones.
while.
I remember cordless phones were all the rage, man. You had to
Mhm.
pull the antenna out of some of them, then the antenna just kept
San
getting
Andreas.
smaller. Yeah, then the antenna got smaller and smaller until now we have supercomputers in our pockets. I mean, I don't know anybody that has a landline. I do. I know a couple people that have landlines, but for the most part, landlines don't exist. I remember my old phone numbers growing up. Now we don't need phone numbers. We have them we have cell phones. Now we can send texts. Our communication is different. Most people don't bother me with a phone call if you can just tell me what you need in a text.
Me, 100%.
Oh, that's you. Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing is like, okay, we have all of
Apparently
these
I'm rude.
ways, but we can't go back. I think it'd be easier to starve to death for most people than to give up their technology. Some people are so glued to their phones in terms of just it's a consistent and it's addictions.
I can agree to
At
that.
this point. It's now an addiction for people. So we have to realize that I think we can't go back to before cell phones.
We're already integrated with our
Yes.
technology.
I
We
think
can't live without it.
I think the older generation you are though, the easier it is to do away with that stuff because you knew about that time before,
Mhm.
right?
Like
But I
you-
think as generations move, newer generations, they wouldn't know what to do without technology. I mean, sure, you have a few outliers that say, "Yeah, I've survived. My dad showed me how to survive in the woods. I'm good." But that's not it. The mass majority of the population couldn't go without. That's just the bottom line.
like Elon Musk about how he feels about people with their cell phones and stuff. He says we're basically already androids.
Yeah. But it's nice being able to have knowledge at the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Being able to look up a fact I didn't know before is fascinating to me. Being able to
I
read
do that
books.
constantly.
I love being able to read books on this thing. I've read whole friggin' books. I've sat at work at when I used to work at Sears and used a whole 8-hour shift to read The Maze Runner.
If you're gonna read digital books, you got to get yourself a Kindle. It is well worth it.
I have one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I don't need it because I have my phone and I have the laptop, the
Yeah.
monitors.
But
So
then
yeah,
think
what's
too
up,
about
man?
like how many things you have connected. You've got phone, laptop,
Yep.
PC, maybe
Yep.
a second phone for some people. I got a
Webcam,
tablet,
speakers,
the TV, the laptop, the
modem,
consoles,
Yeah,
you don't think about how many things you
controller.
have that are accessing the internet right now until you
Yeah.
really sit down and look at it.
that's right. That's right.
My refrigerator accesses the internet to tell me that my filter's going bad.
Can your fridge play Skyrim?
Does
The
it play
Super
Doom?
Special Edition?
It'll probably be able to play Doom if I loaded that up.
Yeah. That's the next
got
step.
it.
They've already done it. I'm not playing. It's already been done.
I'm gonna
He
play it
already-
on my
we got-
fridge just like my 911.
Yep.
Just like, and we're talking about the Porsche 911, not 911 that happened
Right.
on 911. Just so
Okay,
we're-
look, we have hit the technological, singularity because we can play Doom on living rat neurons. There you go. Singularity. Got
but
it.
here's the thing. I think for appliances, technological singularity is wireless. It's not having to plug anything in.
Yeah, I still don't understand Bluetooth. It's magic.
Bluetooth is just radio frequencies. If you think about it,
Yeah, and
that's the
radio
easy way to put it. Like
frequencies.
if you listen to a radio, there's a signal coming out. Your radio catches that signal and brings it in. Same thing.
But how
just
does it read
a
the
little-
signal?
What?
How does it read the signal?
Because it is it's a receiver. That's what they're called. They're
Ah,
called receivers. They receive the signal. The transponder sends the signal. Yes, it's very easy to understand.
We'll look up a tech manual. We'll send it to you.
We'll send you an old Radio Shack.
If
tech
you can
manual.
understand it, like I don't understand everything myself, but if you can understand it, you'll.
yeah.
Wow.
See, Mammoth knows.
Mammoth is a commoner. He has the 12th version. That's cute. I have 5,000. That's cute. We have 5,000. 1,000.
We have advanced beyond your Skyrims.
Skyrims of the 12th. I play Skyrim in my brain. That's where I'm at.
We have Elder
Playing it right
Scrolls
now.
6.
Dun, 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 dun,
Fallout
dun, dun,
5,
dun, dun, dun,
and
dun,
Half-Life
dun, dun, dun,
3.
dun, dun, dun. Yeah, you like that. Oh, I got a crit. Great, we're good.
Oh, any Steam fans out there in the PC gaming community? I heard rumors that Valve has announced a Steam OS. Wait for it. 3.0. Confirmation of Half-Life 3. It's confirmed.
All right, y'all. That's it.
Steam and
Anyways,
Half-Life to AEW confirmed.
Yes.
Steam
Yes.
AW. Steam AEW. Tony Khan.
Right.
Anyways, guys, that's it for tonight's episode of This Uncanny Earth. Hope you enjoyed our conversation regarding technological singularity. We will be back next week for another amazing show with yours truly, Spider, and the intern Clark Kent, and that cat. That cat will be back next time too, so make sure you're all ready for that. Anyways, guys, as always, why be boring when you can be uncanny? Ghost hands. We will see you folks next week. Get it earlier next time, Mammoth. Nobody likes late people. There'll be a pop quiz. You better study. Go back and listen to the episode.
Truancy
All right,
is
guys.
a crime.
Do it. Peace.